July 6th, 2017. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 130 of You Can Bet on That. Hey everybody, welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Did you go see The House this weekend, the movie?
No, I did
You didn't
not.
on this long holiday weekend? You didn't go?
It's not a long holiday weekend for me. Everyone kept saying that. I worked Monday.
Oh,
and then,
see.
it was just,
No.
and I actually worked Tuesday morning till
You
noon.
did? Oh my gosh.
I did paperwork, got caught up on some paperwork. But I heard it got bad reviews.
Yeah, right now it's 20% at Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
It's getting
gosh.
really bad reviews. But Sherry and I went to a matinee, a real early one, like 9:45 in the morning,
Yeah.
where we wouldn't have to pay a lot of money.
Right.
And we went in with real low expectations, right?
Sure.
And it's just a silly, stupid, fun movie. You know,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. It gets out of hand real quick, and it's
Right.
just stupid. So if you go in kind of expecting that, it delivers.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There are a lot of movies like that.
Sure.
I mean, I can list a whole slew of them that are just stupid,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I mean, I think for me anyway, it started with like Airplane.
Well, but Airplane is really a classic. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
a good
classic,
movie. But
when it first came out, it was kind of like different, right?
well, sure.
And it was like, well, this is kind of weird. It wasn't what you expected, but I kind of like it. I mean,
Well,
I always did like that.
yeah.
So I kind of like these kind of weird, stupid movies.
All right. Well, this one is definitely weird. You know, if you like gambling, if you like Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler,
Right.
you're going to like this. You know, at the end, when you think back on some of the plot, you'll think, well, how, because some things don't
doesn't
make
even
sense,
add
or they
up.
just, sweep some stuff under the rug. So, I'm not going to recommend it to people because it is getting bad reviews, but we got to, at a matinee, we got a big kick out of it. And there were certain things that we kept talking about through the day and chuckling about.
It's gambling too.
Yeah, Oh, and I'll tell you, if you're a craps player, you will love this craps scene at Wynn Las Vegas at the beginning of the movie.
All right.
I'm not going to tell you any more, but it's fantastic. If you're a craps player, you'll
Well,
love
I'll
it.
definitely see the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll make it to the theater.
Yeah, right. Just
but
wait
I'll-
for it to come
yeah,
out on video.
It'll come
yeah.
out.
Yeah. So last episode, we talked about the Mayweather-McGregor fight and how if you made some wagers right when the fight was announced, or even right before it was announced and you were able to lay some money on the fight, if you bet on McGregor very early on and then just waited until Mayweather's odds dropped basically below what McGregor's underdog value was, you were guaranteed to make some money. We talked about it on the
Right.
last episode. Well, listener Doug pointed out something just did not occur to me at all. When you bet on a boxing match, and this is true with MMA fighting as well,
Right.
you are betting that a fighter will win.
Right.
Will win.
Right.
So obviously, if he loses, you lose the bet. Or if the fight ends in a draw or a no contest, your fighter has not won, so you lose the bet.
And unfortunately, in boxing and I guess MMA, I'm not familiar enough with their rules, but there are a lot of times when things do end oddly, like somebody's unable to continue.
Right. And I'm not an MMA person either, but I think it happens a lot more in MMA than it does in boxing.
okay.
In boxing, it's pretty, and I don't expect this one to end in a draw, but it's certainly a possibility.
Right.
And in fact, the books offer a wager to cover that. Will it end in a
okay.
draw?
Right.
And so
you could cover yourself by making this bet.
yes. So I don't know, again, with this guarantee that we talked about last time, which wasn't really a guarantee, I don't know if you could even hedge it with a draw bet to still come out ahead. But anyway, Doug pointed that out, so I'm glad that he did, so we make that clear.
We'd have to sit down and look at all the rules and
yeah,
regulations. But there's a lot of, you've heard of fights ending because like some fighter can't continue.
Yeah, right. And it's not technically a draw, but it's right.
It's like a no fight or something.
No contest.
Right.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
contest.
Right. Again, when you bet on boxing, you're betting on a fighter to win.
Right.
And this actually was a plot point in the house.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not, this actually came up in the house. So if you go to see that, that's accurate. They got that right.
Because in other sports, if it ends in a tie,
Right. Well, if you're talking about like
things.
football and baseball,
Right.
things like that,
Yeah, it's
then
just you get your money back.
usually it's a point spread. So if it
Right.
lands right on the point
point
spread,
spread.
then you get your money back. That's why a lot of times a point spread will have a half point in there,
Right, so
to
they
guarantee to
guarantee no
win a lot.
ties.
Well, guess who came to visit us here this last week?
Well, I don't have to guess. I was there.
Oh, that's right. You were there. It was our buddy Roux from Denton, Dallas and Beyond. He was visiting San Diego. And so when he was here on a Friday night, we took him out to the casino here in Southern California.
It's funny because he was visiting. I mean, I thought he was out here for work or
No,
something.
no,
and
it's
I'm
a vacation.
Like, well, what brought you here? No, he's just visiting.
He says he comes here all the time. He's got friends. And yeah.
What
In
a
fact,
great place to visit.
while he was out here, he took a tour of the Taylor Guitar Factory out here in El Cajon.
Right in El Cajon here,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and he was just raving about that. No doubt he'll talk about it on the next episode of Denton, Dallas and Beyond. But
And I was wondering, my wife was asking me yesterday, did he stay till the 4th?
I think so.
Because
I think he was
gonna be
staying with friends.
Yeah, he was going to be in Coronado, and they have that big parade.
Yeah, it's
and
huge out
It's
there.
quite a thing to see.
Yeah.
And the fireworks show here in San Diego is the third biggest in the U.S.
Is that right?
That's
the one
what they
over the
said
bay,
last
or
night on the news. The one
Coronado?
over the
yeah.
bay.
Uh-huh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, so anyway, we took him out to the casino. It's funny because when we're driving up there, he said, a real casino has free drinks, dice on the craps table, and a roulette ball on the roulette table. And Harris, California has none of those.
None of those. So, yeah, we were like, okay, so it's not a real casino.
Not a real casino. But I think he had a good time. He made friends
Yeah.
with all the dealers and the bartenders. He even confused the cocktail waitresses. His orders were so sophisticated that the
Right.
cocktail waitresses didn't know what to make of it. They had to go to the bartender to find out exactly what he was doing.
It's funny because at one point I heard him tell the girl, I can't remember which one it was, just ask,
Carl. I think he talked to the bartender. Carl knows what I'm ordering.
Carl knows what I'm ordering. Just tell Carl.
But I think he had a good time. It was great to see him. We're going to see him again along with Edwin and Sparkles at the Vegas Nerd Society Summit in October. Although we're not going to be doing our show. The Denton Dallas and Beyond, they won't be doing their show. We won't be doing our show like we did the last 2 years, which is kind of a relief because I didn't know. I thought, God, what would we talk about again?
Yeah, well, and the good thing is it's more time to gamble.
Yeah,
for us,
exactly. More
and
time.
more time to schmooze around.
And
I guess.
Tim and Michelle from 500 by Midnight, they're still going to be doing their show on
Right.
Saturday night as part of the main event.
And that's the main attraction,
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link kind of at the top of the page. All right, let's move on to our voicemail hotline segment. Remember, call our hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512 wagers.
And maybe we'll play your clip on the show. First up, Logan has some information about bubble craps.
This is Logan. I got a follow-up bubble craps information for you guys. The bubble craps at the Golden Nugget, you only can put a maximum of 2 comebacks out. That's it. It won't take a third comeback. Also, it says the limit is $500, but I've noticed, I believe the $500 limit is actually all of your bets total. It's not just one bet at $500, I believe. The reason why I believe that is I had almost $500 total on the table, and it wouldn't make me put Hardway's bet past $25. Thank you.
You know, the $500 aggregate, I can kind of understand, I guess, on a machine like that.
I guess. Now, is that aggregate for the whole, everyone playing?
No, I would think just for a
per
single
person?
player, I would guess.
Yeah, because you know how sometimes they have aggregates for the whole table.
Yeah, well, Keno,
Keno,
right, has an
right.
aggregate payout, yeah.
Right.
But that is strange about the 2 combets maximum.
Yeah, that's odd.
I wonder
I
why.
don't know.
We might have to try it at the Shoot to Win Craps out here at Harris.
It's funny because Saturday before last, they had the big giveaway at Harris, the end of the month giveaway, and the place was packed.
Yeah, it was like they were giving away $100,000 every hour, right, from 1 to 10, yeah.
And you weren't there because your son was graduating,
Right,
but I got there early at 11 in the morning
Yeah.
and stayed all day because I wanted to be there for every drawing. And I got there at 11 in the morning, all 4 craps tables completely packed.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked my way on. They made some space for me and I got on a table. They were all packed, but it was so funny because some of the real hardcore guys who are always there and always playing, ended up playing bubble craps.
Yeah, because there was
Because
no
there
room
was
at
no
the table.
room at the table.
Yeah.
So it was like this bubble crap machine with like all these super experienced players sitting around playing it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you know?
You know why it is great to have a machine like that in a casino, especially something like Harris? Their craps tables are not 24/7. Right. So, in the morning, 8 o'clock, they're not open.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that too. The next morning, we stayed overnight, my wife and kids and I. I got up early because I get up early. And yeah, there were no craps tables open till 9. The first one opened at 9.
Yeah.
And I saw the bubble craps, but we went and ate. We went to the cafe and ate. But I could have went and played bubble craps.
Oh, yeah.
Which would have, before they had that, you were just stuck waiting for a table to open.
And it's relatively fast. I'll tell you, sometimes it's faster than a crowded table. I shouldn't say sometimes. Most times it's faster than a crowded table because it can figure out all the prop bets automatically.
Right? Especially at Rincon.
Yeah. All right, so Logan has a follow-up comment about the bubble craps.
This is a follow-up call on the bubble craps machine. When you do play it, if you haven't played it, once the dice is pushed up and hit the button, it comes down and it kind of rolls around. But then 3 seconds after, the floor that the dice rests on drops an additional maybe 2 inches. So whatever direction the dice is rolling, you actually can see what's going to show up. So in some cases, if you do have a lot of money on the pass line and the place bets, kind of can give you a slow heart attack because sometimes you see the 5 show up, resting, and then when it drops down, it'll turn to a 3. Or the other that's showing a 4. So I want to give you guys a heads up on that. Okay?
So it teases you.
Right.
It's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. No,
wait till the machine completely stops.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, the other thing about the bubble craps, I mean, I do like it. It's kind of interesting to watch. But for me, I don't know. Just seeing them, the way they bounce those dice up and down, it's just so different than them rolling down the table.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Yes, I do.
It's odd. I can't wrap my head around that.
All right. Well, we will always choose a real craps table over, the bubble craps, unless we're trying to kill time and it's like, $1 minimum or something.
But it seems like bubble craps is catching on.
Yes, I'm glad it is.
Yeah. That's one good thing. And the other thing, it seems like from people that we've talked to, it varies a lot from place to place.
Well, there are different types. Not all of them are shoot to win.
Right.
There are different types.
Yeah.
So, there are differences.
As opposed to craps, there are some subtle differences. The odds might be different, but the basics are
the tables are pretty much look the same. They've got the same bumpers and the way the dice are shaped.
Whereas the bubble craps kind of changes place to place.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they'll ever get a bigger machine.
Oh, like a huge one?
Like a stadium seating, right? Where there was a machine and then there were like 20 seats.
That could be if stadium gambling really catches on, and I don't know if it will yet.
Right.
It's working for blackjack and roulette, but maybe I would imagine they would have to. If it was stadium craps, they'd have to have some kind of machine, as opposed to just some guy up there rolling the dice. 7 out.
Because seriously, I mean, you can only, the one at Rincon gets 8 people?
I think something like that. That's the max, sure.
Yeah. And that's a pretty good sized machine. Well, if a casino wanted to go to say one live table and one bubble craps, well, why not make it stadium seating where you can get 20 people, around it?
That would be ideal for me. Stadium seating where you can play craps, blackjack, and roulette simultaneously. That's what I'm waiting for. Yeah,
that'll take care of your.
That'll take it. Then I won't have to play Sudoku
disorder.
while we're at the table. Yeah,
you'll be playing Sudoku and craps and roulette and everything.
That's right.
The ultimate. There'll be a pamphlet there if you're playing more than 4 games at once.
That's right. That's a sign.
That's a sign. We have counseling for you.
All right, let's hear from Will.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Will from North Carolina again. I just finished another Vegas trip, and I had a few questions for you guys. Before I ask them, the first thing that did happen on this trip that was awesome is I finally, for the first time ever, rolled an all-tall, all-small, make-em-all. I've won on it before, but never rolled it myself. I wasn't betting on it, but it still had fantastic timing because another player was betting $50 on all 3 parts. So he won about $10,000 in my roll, and he tipped me $200, which was fantastic because the most I've ever bet on is 212, which is about the same amount I would have won had I been betting on it. So that was awesome. So my first question for you guys was related to that. What do you guys think about players cheering on a come-out 7 when people have money on the all-tall, all-small? I never cheer on it myself because I feel like my $5 or $10 on the line isn't nearly as much as the hundreds of dollars somebody just lost on that bet. But I've seen new players like cheer on a 7 or even say, hey, come on, let's see that 7 on the come-out roll, not understanding that other people are losing money. I kind of see it from both sides because on one hand, I never want to cheer when someone loses money, but on the other hand, it's just kind of like a dumb side bet, whereas the pass line is a fundamental bet in craps. So what do you guys think about that? I was curious about that.
I would not cheer just because I'm kind of aware of that bet.
Right.
But, if people are it's not part of regular crap.
Right.
So.
Mostly they're just unaware. Especially if they don't have a bet on it, right? They're just like, they're hoping they win their $5 pass line bet.
Yeah.
Me personally, I always get bummed out when that 7 comes up.
Well, of course.
And, I'm always thinking, I've been putting a 3-way 7 bet out there too.
Yeah.
So it covers.
Kind of covers.
Well, you don't lose money that way.
Because you can replace it.
Because you can replace it with your 3-way 7
But the problem
bet.
is you've lost all the numbers that have come up already.
Exactly. That's the problem. It's like starting over.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you're bummed out no matter what.
Yeah. But as far as the cheering goes, you know what I think it's kind of like? It's kind of like when somebody rolls aces on the come out roll, craps.
Right.
And then people cheer because there are plenty of people who have money in the middle, on those prop bets, and they won.
Right.
So,
it's like you and I, right?
Yeah, it's right.
Every time aces comes out on the come out, I'm happy. I'm
You're
parlaying.
great. Meanwhile, I just lost my pass line bet.
Yeah.
That's all that happened to me. So,
Although, see, now the way the world should work is like when that happens twice in a row and I make a big haul, I always replace your pass line bet.
You're very good. You're very generous about that.
I just I won $500 here. I'll put your pass line bet.
Yeah, you'll put my $5 pass line bet back.
Now, if everyone in the world did that, everyone would be okay.
Oh my God, you're so generous, Dr. Mike, but you're making the house edge even worse on those bets if you're replacing everybody's pass line.
Replacing everyone's pass line. But I do love the fact that he got tipped.
Yes, that's great. Well, God, a guy has 30 on each of them.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
50, he said. But what's great about that is such a good feeling when you get tipped.
Oh, yes.
Because, you won money and you're happy.
Yep.
But then you get a little extra, a tip. It's like, God, I really did it for that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, seriously, I feel better when I see some big whale win a bunch of money and knowing that I rolled a good hand for him.
Sure.
I mean, it makes me feel good. Even though I'm happy I won, but it's really good when they win. And then when they tip you, it's like, oh,
it's great. Now, does that kind of fly in the face of what we talked about on the last show where you shouldn't feel bad about losing money for people?
No, you shouldn't feel bad.
Yeah, but you should feel good when you did it.
You should feel really good when you helped them out.
Okay.
But you can't feel bad about it. You just feel neutral.
Okay.
I mean, I find it, because you know how it is.
I do know how it is.
You win and you lose, and they know that too.
Yeah.
My point, I guess, is that it's great when somebody realizes, hey, this guy just made me a bunch of money, so I'm going to...
With his random rolls.
So I'm, what the heck? I'm going to give him a little
I'm in
money.
Agreement with you. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Spread it around.
Yeah,
just
spread it around.
Spread the wealth around.
My second question had to deal with locals casinos versus strip casinos. I've noticed in my experience in local casinos here in North Carolina or in Pittsburgh or Chicago or even in Vegas, the players seem to be a whole lot more serious than the players that are on the strip. On the strip, people just seem to be tourists that are just there to have a really good time and want to have fun. Whereas locals players seem to be more into, setting the dice and dice control. They're really, really superstitious. They think it's more of a game about skill. I had one player even tell me one time, hey man, I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to make money. And I just kind of didn't really think anything of it. But I was just curious, have you guys noticed that players at Harrah's, Southern California, are a lot more serious than players on the strip?
I think that's a very good observation because I think it is, in general, it's true.
Most definitely correct.
And we have had players say essentially that, hey, I'm here to make money.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, we at Harrah's Rincon, there are quite a few everyday regular players at the craps tables.
Yes.
And I'm sure at the other games too, but we just see them at the craps. They're there every day.
Yes.
Almost as if that's their job.
Yeah.
And they're serious about, making money. We'd be destitute if we went every day.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, most definitely.
I think in
Vegas,
general,
there's a lot of people who are just, they took their $200 and they're going to have a good time no matter what.
Yeah.
And then finally, my third question had to deal with ratings. I played consistently the whole entire trip. I always did continuous come bets. I noticed during one session, I had a much, much lower rating than all my others. And I noticed during that session, the pit boss kept leading a whole lot, so maybe he just didn't look at my bets accurately. But the other thing I was wondering is this. I slowly found myself moving around the table. I started next to one dealer and finished by the time at the end of the session next to the stick. And I was wondering, is it possible the pit boss thought that I left? because he didn't keep on checking like they do at some casinos. And I guess it's because it was on the strip and players all the time are leaving without coloring up or not throwing in a player's card. And I wondered, maybe did he think I just left? Do they have a way to definitely keep track of that? Or do you have to kind of make sure that they still are keeping track of you even if you move around the table a little bit? I was just curious to see what you guys thought about that.
A good pit boss is going to notice if you move to a different location on the table.
However, you should always tell them.
Yeah, not all the pit bosses are good. Even at Harris Southern California, we're there every week.
Right.
Even if I move over one spot, say to make room for your dad, I'll tell the pit, hey, I'm at this location now, just to make sure, make sure.
I think it's a good policy because seriously, they come back, and if they're not paying close attention, especially if they know us,
they know us. But if they don't know you,
if we're in a casino where they don't know you, they don't even remember. They see so many people, they just assume, oh, that guy left. And sometimes I've heard him ask the dealers, like, oh, what'd he leave with? Say, oh, he just moved over here.
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
right.
And they write that down. But yeah, I make it a point to always tell them when I've changed spots.
Yeah. Now, Will, if that had anything to do with your rating, it's impossible to say because, again, ratings at table games are it's still voodoo. Harris Southern California, we're there every week, and we check our rating the next day, and it can vary wildly, even to this point where we're regulars. So
yeah, we're regulars, and we bet the same every time.
Yeah, very rarely do we
very rarely
deviate from the way we bet.
Much.
Yeah.
There's one more thing about my Vegas trip that I wanted to tell you about because I thought it was a really cool experience that I had. In the past, you guys have always said that the dealers at Golden Gate were some of the best you've seen, and I definitely totally agree. Almost every time I've gone there, I've had a really good time because the dealers have made it really fun. But I had a particularly fun experience on this past trip, especially because I lost a whole lot and I was playing by myself, and yet it was still one of the most fun sessions I had on the trip, which is really, really rare. I was playing from like 5 to 7 in the morning, completely by myself, and I was playing the don't. I was making not only don't pass bets, but continuous don't come bets. And like I said, I actually ended up losing a lot of money because I had some of my best rolls of the entire session. Go figure. But here's the thing. Normally when I play the don't at a table by myself, the dealers still call the game in the same way. They'll still say things like, oh, frontline winner 7 or, oh, winner 8. And they might throw in a couple comments like, oh, I guess we're looking for the 7 this time. But they usually don't change the way they call the game. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't blame them at all for that because I understand, pass line players could come up at any second. And, the dealers, they get into a rhythm and they're just going to call the game in the same way. That is completely 100% fine. But that's what made it so awesome at the Golden Gate is because these dealers, to me, they went the extra mile. They went above and beyond to make the game fun for me. They were really actively cheering on the 7 because they knew that I was the only player there. And they knew that I was just going to keep on making those don't bets, especially because I would get all of my don't come bets lined up. And there's really nothing like it, getting all of those don't come bets lined up. And the dealer's even kind of saying, okay, man, here we go. It's time for the grand slam. It's time to knock it out of the park with that 7. And when I finally rolled the 7, they just busted out cheering with me. And it was just really, really exciting. And what was so great about it is you never get the chance to do that. You never get the chance to be really happy and excited as a don't player. And they really made it fun for me. They even threw in a couple extra little phrases I had never heard before. They said they would used to tell each other. They would say sometimes 3-4 out the door, cinco dos adios, and my favorite one, 6 ace in your face. And it was really, really great because every time I would roll a 7, I would start saying one of those phrases. I'd be like, oh, man, look at that, 34 out the door. And it was great because I can just imagine a player doing that at a full table. Can you imagine a don't player rolling the dice themselves? And when they roll a 7, not only cheering, but yelling out to everybody at the table, 6 ace in your face. And I can just imagine the whole entire table just mobbing the person and beating him up. And so that's what made the session so fun and so unique, is I've never had that much fun playing the don't by myself. And the dealers really made it that way. So I just wanted to tell everybody, if you haven't been to Golden Gate, it's not 100% true, like all of the time, but almost every time I've gone there, the dealers have been great. And so it's just a really, really great fun craps experience. So I just wanted to kind of tell everybody that. All right, guys, I always appreciate it. Thanks a whole lot. All right, bye.
So, yeah, I've been, calling my bets off when the dice go off the table or, the stick change. Next time that happens, a 7 comes up and you've just lost hundreds of dollars. I've just got 6 ace in your face. Right to it. Yeah. See how you feel about it, what they say, what the whole table thinks of me.
Just say it to me. Just say it to me.
Under my breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you'll be laughing when it happens. Remember when we said on the podcast I was going
Right.
to do that? That's
Yeah.
funny, isn't it?
You know what it reminds me of as he's telling that story? It's in Vegas Vacation when Chevy Chase is at the table and he's losing like crazy. And I always forget the actor's name who was dealing to him from Princess Bride.
Yeah, I know who you mean. Wallace Shawn.
Wallace Shawn, yeah. So he's dealing, and finally it's a push. They both get 20. And Wallace Shawn's just like, oh, God. Oh, you're in for it now. It's like he's so pissed off that he didn't win that bet. He's going to hammer him. And, and then, of course, he just goes on this huge losing streak.
But that's a great story about Golden Gate. Yeah, if you're the only player and you're the don't, the dealer should cheer for you,
Well,
right?
actually, a good dealer
A good dealer, yeah.
will always cheer for you because number one, it's more fun for you. Number two, more chances they're going to get tipped. And why not?
I agree with you, but
Yeah.
that there are dealers out there who hate don't players.
Right.
I mean, we've met them.
Yeah,
We know
exactly.
some.
We know some. But, seriously, the whole idea in any kind of service job, whether you're a waiter
Sure.
or a dealer at a craps table or whatever, is to make sure the customer's enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Because that's better for you. It's better for them. It's better for everything.
Yep.
And the house doesn't care because in the long run, they're going to get your money anyway.
Yep.
So why not make it fun for everybody? And that's what separates the good casinos from the not so good
Agreed.
places.
Agreed. All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike, Marty from Northern California. Hey, I just spent the weekend in Reno once again, and up there for a concert, and then spent a little bit of time out at a place called the Nugget. Interesting place, completely out of construction, being renovated. Only time I've ever played on a dice table that had an orange felt. Very disturbing. Orange felt, red dice. Very strange. Interesting game. 3, 4, 5, $1,000 max, $5 minimum. Only time I've ever seen it on a table, other than in Mississippi, where they take 5 bets on the 5 and 9. So kind of weird, but you make a couple extra bucks on each. The other thing, they pay on 3 numbers to the player bet. So 3, 4, 5, or 6. I think somebody else called in and mentioned they'd seen that at some other place. First time I'd ever seen that. So interesting place. One other thing, I got to listen to the weekly podcast, and Dr. Mike, I think you and I may have some of the same superstitions. I do the same thing. Every stick change, I call them off, and if I have any place bets that are more than $300, I hop those numbers. So another potential bad habit for you. So if you've actually run your 6 and 8 up to 300 each, then I hop them each for $75. So anyway, another bad habit for you. Thanks, Dr. Mike. Thanks, Mark. Love the show. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.
So just so we're clear and that Dr. Mike doesn't get angry here, I'm the one who's been calling my bets off.
Right. I work mine all the time and then just burn up when the 7 comes up. But I have done that. I have hopped my bets when they get large.
Well, sure. And especially if your hard way gets up there, right?
Well,
And then
definitely. Every time my hard way gets
you'll
up there,
hop an easy way
I'll hop
just
it
because
easy.
your place bet won't cover it. Yeah.
I typically will have like, say $100 hard 8, $450 place bet on 8. And then I'll hop the 80 easy too, because I figure that'll cover my hard way. And
that covers every number.
Yeah, it covers everything.
Yeah, the 3-number fire bet winner, we have seen that before. We've played on tables like that, but it's pretty much gone from at least the places we played. Downtown Grand used to have it.
Right.
And the way that it works is, yes, if 3 points, you'll get paid on the fire bet, but then when you hit 5 and 6 points, it doesn't pay as much.
Right.
So, they kind of skew it, down. So I would prefer it that way.
Oh, I would love it that
Because
way.
how
because
many times have we made 3 points? Gosh.
A lot.
Yeah, we've only hit 6 twice.
Right.
So now, as far as buying the 5 and 9 go, let's listen to the next call because Reggie actually talks about it.
Hey guys, this is Reggie from Missouri. Wanted to give you guys a trip report from Tunica. I never called before, but had something interesting happen while I was at Sam's Town. I know you guys were talking about it before with the buy bets, but the 5 and the 9, they didn't actually charge the vig until afterwards. So that was sort of neat, especially when you guys said that you didn't really find any place that had that. Every place I went to, from Sam's Town, Horseshoe, even Gold Strike, $5 tables. Horseshoe had 100 times odds. That was pretty nice. Obviously, didn't ever get anything that high to ever actually utilize that, but just all in general, good trip. Not on the money side, but everything was pretty liberal with all the walls and everything they had down there. So yeah, I think that's all I was gonna say. Thanks for the show, guys. Really appreciate listening to it. Didn't make any hard ways bets. Maybe next time. All right, bye.
Yeah, so we've talked about it before, but if you are able to buy the 5 and 9 where you don't have to pay the vig unless it wins, then that's a better bet than placing the 5 and 9.
Sure.
Now, we have been to casinos in Las Vegas where on the 4 and 10, you pay the vig only on a win. But then they've told us if you buy the 5, you've got to pay the vig up front.
Right.
So, it makes no sense. So
Doesn't
I don't
make any
know.
sense,
Right.
but that's
Anyway,
a rule.
if you pay the vig only on a win, you should buy the 5 and 9. And if you want more information about place bets and buy bets and put bets, go back to the episode. I can't remember the number of it, but the episode title is something like place versus buy versus put. And we'll explain all that. And just to follow up, never buy the 6 and 8.
No.
Always place that.
No,
Even if
there's
you
no
pay the vig afterwards,
Right.
always just place the 6 and 8.
When we have a casino,
Yes, sir.
we are going to offer free buy bets on 4 and 10,
4 and 10, okay.
free buy bets, and 5 and 9, you pay the vig after they hit.
That's so nice.
Yeah,
God.
that's going to be
And
our thing.
All right. What about the field? Is it going to be triple on both the 2
Triple on the
and
2
12?
and the 12.
So that's also a no house edge bet.
Right. And I guarantee we're still going to make money at craps.
All right. Well, let's see when that happens and if that turns out to be the way. I'm looking forward to the answer to that question. Will we succeed?
Will we succeed?
Yeah. All right. Next up is Adam.
Hey guys, this is Adam from Colorado calling. I've called a couple of times before. I got actually kind of a specific question. I really enjoy playing the all small tall bets. I know they're not great in terms of house advantage, but they're kind of fun, and I usually only do $1, maybe $2 on each one. Plus, I've won it a few times, which never hurts either. But I got a question on seemingly somewhat regular occasion. The dealer, especially if there's not a boxman, the dealers will miss marking a number after it's been rolled. And so I always try to, very politely ask them to mark it if they missed it. And on more than one occasion when I've asked, I've got some combination of either an eye roll or a grunt, or one time, this was by far the worst example, the dealer kind of grunted. He said something to himself I didn't hear. He marked the number. And then, of course, inevitably, the very next roll was a 7 out. And right after that, he said, see, that's why you don't tell the dealers what to do. You'll 7 out. I thought that was totally uncalled for. And quite frankly, I would have left the table if I hadn't been doing so good otherwise at that table. But I'm just wondering am I doing something wrong, or what's the best way to approach that? I mean, I always wait as long as possible. I basically wait until just before the next roll. So, it gives the dealers plenty of time. And given that it's happened at multiple places and multiple different tables, I'm almost wondering if maybe I'm doing something wrong. So I didn't know if you guys had any advice on kind of how to approach that situation, and maybe more generally just how to approach dealing with dealer mistakes. So anyway, show's great. Love it. And keep up the good work. All right. Thanks.
That dealer is a bozo.
Here's the thing. There are people in the world, and a lot of them are dealers, who just don't like being told they made a mistake and don't handle it very well.
Right.
And that's just going to, not just at the craps table, in life. You're going to deal with people who, you dropped something.
Which is unfortunate because I always look at things like when somebody points out my mistakes.
Yes.
Which happens,
Sure, if you're
frequently.
like drilling into the wrong tooth and the doctor, that's the wrong one. Oh, thank you for pointing that out.
No, but when you've made some mistake on something, right? And someone points it out, it's like, well, good. I'm glad, we got that clarified, right? You should look at that as a positive thing, not a negative thing. It's not an attack on your character.
Right.
It's more of like, well, let's just get it right.
And, as a dealer, you're going to make mistakes all the time. It's going to have, especially the example he's giving on all, tall, small. That happens all the time. They forget.
It'd be crazy if it didn't happen.
Yeah, and like that repeater bet that we had at Planet Hollywood, even more there, right? Because there's so much more that we do have to do it every time.
We correct them all the time.
Yeah.
How many times have I corrected them? This is what I say. I always say, okay, if they haven't marked the fire bet, like, the number came up, I'll say, oh, Bill, mark up that 4. We don't want any problems when we hit the fire. Make it kind of like, we're going to hit it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the repeaters. Like, did we roll 3 4s or, how many, what was that? So...
Yeah, it just comes down to how do you deal with difficult people,
right.
And sometimes you just have to massage their ego or whatever.
Right.
So,
you didn't cause a 7 to come up.
No, you didn't.
Otherwise, I'd play the don't and make comments like that all day long.
Hey, you messed up.
Hey, you messed up.
Big
7, yay!
All right, let's hear from Kelly.
Hello from Utah. This is Kelly. I was listening to a previous show, and a listener called in to ask you guys something about what casinos on the Strip have relatively low limits and good rules. And you guys named a few good places. And one place you did not name is Treasure Island. And over the last 10 years or so, Treasure Island has been really good to us. They seem to have pretty fair rules. They've got 3, 4, 5 craps. And the last time I was there, which was about 2 weeks ago, they had at least a $10 table the whole time. I think you occasionally will find a $5 table there, but I don't know if that's real frequent. But 10's pretty good for the Strip. I don't know about their blackjack. I don't know if it's 6-5 or 3-2, but the rooms are nice. They have good places to eat. Gillies is great. So that's another option for people who were wondering. Another listener called in to ask the dealer, 7, what's the longest time that she's ever seen anybody gamble in one sitting? And I think that the dealer said it was 3 days. And at our locals casinos we go to occasionally, I did not bear witness to this, but I got it from a very reliable source that there was someone in there who was playing one slot machine for 4 days. And I believe it's true because the source was reliable, and I have seen this person in the fiendish way that they gamble. We did see one time that this person won a significant hand pay jackpot. And part of the fun for us is having the attendant come over and count out all the bills and lay them in your hand. But this person wanted no part of that. The attendant said, let me count it for you. The player said, no, don't worry about it. Don't count it. And the attendant said, you don't want me to count it? And the player just grabbed the money and kept on gambling. And this was 2 fistfuls of money. So that led me to wonder if you guys at your locals casino ever see anyone that clearly has a problem, is there every single time you go. We don't go very often, but sometimes there are people who are literally there every single time. And I just wonder, where do they get the money? Where do they get the time? And I was wondering if you have problem gamblers at your casino. What do you guys think about it? Do you give it any thought? Is it sad? And then my last question is, other than the obvious play on words and kind of the catchy phrasing, you can bet on that. I was wondering how you got the name for your podcast. Was it an inside joke between you and Mike over the years where you would say, you can bet on that in response to something and everybody bursts out laughing? Or was it something that you kind of gave it some thought and thought that that was the best option? So just curious. I love the name of your podcast and I love your podcast. So thank you. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks.
Let's work our way back here on this. So, yeah, you can bet on that. So when I was thinking about, and no, it's not a catchphrase. I actually thought long and hard about this. So when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, I want it to be a gambling podcast, and I want us to be able to talk about anything you can bet on.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, how can we put that? And it's like, well, can you bet on that? Yeah, you can bet on that. And so that was kind of the idea. Now, I know we talk a lot about craps here and casino gambling,
Right.
but ultimately, we want this show to be any kind of gambling, anything that you can bet on. We
Right.
want to be able to
That's
talk
why
about
we cover
that.
horse racing
Yeah,
and we cover
right.
boxing and MMA and
That's
stuff
right.
to a certain degree.
To a certain degree, right?
Right.
And then, of course, when you hear you can bet on that, it's like, yeah, you listen to Mark and Dr. Mike, you can bet on that.
Yeah.
Take their advice. They know what they're talking about. So
I don't
that's
know.
the-
I don't
that's
know
the
if you
idea.
can bet on that.
No, it's not true, but that's the idea.
Yeah,
that
right.
was that's the goal. It'll always be the goal of the show.
It'll be the goal of the show, yeah.
Talking about problem gamblers and longtime gamblers, Kelly actually sent us a follow-up email on this player who played the slot for 4 straight days. She said that the player's adult children actually came into the casino to try to get this player to leave, and they wouldn't. And finally, on that last day, the player asked the casino if they would lock down the machine and save it while they went home and took a nap. And the casino said, no, we won't do that. If you're going to go get a meal or go to the restroom, we can do it. You're a big player. But no, they cut the line off.
Why
there.
go home to take a nap? I mean, you just lay your head down on that machine.
Lay your head down on the button.
Yeah, on the
And then
button. Every time you have some REM sleep kick in, you hit a.
That's right,
You might hit a
that's right.
jackpot.
Well, as far as problem gamblers are well, you mentioned it before, Mike. There are people that
we see.
It doesn't matter when we go out,
Yeah.
they're there.
Yeah, it's funny because Mark and I'll point to somebody and say, "Yeah, I've never been here when I haven't seen that person."
right.
And that's like, okay, we went Wednesday this week. We went Thursday. We went, morning. Sunday. I'm there Sunday morning, and they're playing. There's a lot of them at Harris Rincon.
There are a lot. Now, are they problem gamblers? I know that some of them are not. Some of them we see out there all the time. They're obviously, they have plenty of money, and they're not betting much. We say they're there every day, but then, $5 on the pass line.
Right.
Place the 6 and 8 for $6 each. They're not betting a lot. So even though they're there all the time, they're not putting a lot of money on the table.
There's one guy, him and his wife, who are both physicians, and they're playing very small limit, but they're there a lot. They're there a lot.
Yeah.
And they enjoy it, and I don't think they have a problem, really.
There certainly are problem gamblers out there, and Mike, I think you know who I'm talking about. We could, name some names off Mike, but there are definitely people who are out there a lot, and it's like, this guy, he's getting hammered or whatever. And even some of the dealers, we have some dealers who don't work at Harris Southern California anymore, but we have seen them at other casinos, and kind of seen what they're doing. It's like, it's getting a little out of hand. You could see it in their face and their body language, and so it happens. Of course, it's going to happen with anything like this.
Sure. Let me tell you a quick story. This might be a good place to put this in. So this weekend, when Mark and I were out there, we found out that one of the players, who's a very regular, at least 5 days a week from what we've heard, and probably more like 6 or 7 days a week, he's there. And he's retired, and he bets a fair amount of money. I mean, he's not a small gambler.
Okay.
And I don't know what his particular situation is, if he's, retired and just has boatloads of money or what. And we've seen him lose big, we've seen him win big and everything. Anyway, he got kicked out.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Of the casino for abusing dealers.
Yes, just verbally
abusing dealers. And I guess he had been warned.
Right.
And we've never had that encounter with him. I've always thought he was a great guy.
Well, and apparently there's been a lot of turnover in dealers here at Harris Southern California recently, and he was really laying into these new dealers. Who were still trying to figure out how to deal. Craps. It's a complicated game, right? And so we try to give him some slack, and apparently he was pretty abusive to them.
Yeah. Sometimes, I find myself getting antsy.
Sure, you get frustrated, right?
Frustrated, like, come on, let's pick it up. But you realize they're learning, so you put up with a certain amount.
Sure.
Evidently, he didn't want to put up with anything, and they had warned him multiple times, according to what one dealer told us, and he kept doing it. And so they banned him for 3 months?
Something like that. It was a period,
a period of time.
It wasn't permanent.
And then he can come back, but they told him if he does it again and gets kicked out, then it's a permanent ban, and it won't just be from Harris Southern California. It'll be from all Caesars properties.
And it's interesting because we had talked about that before. When you get kicked out of one Caesars property, does it apply to them all? In this case, it would.
Yeah.
They
and
warned
the funny
him.
thing is, this guy, this is his life. He's there all the time, right? It's not like us, we go once a week.
No, he's retired, and that's what he does.
That's what he does. That's how he enjoys his time, right? So for him, if he got banned, that would be something. That would really be something.
Well, he'd go to a different casino.
I guess he'd probably just end up going to another one, right? But he likes to go to Vegas. And it's funny because I asked one of the dealers, well, what's he going to do for 3 months? This guy gambles every day. And he said, he told us as he was leaving, he's just going to go up to Reno and gamble at one of the Caesars properties up there for 3 months.
Yeah.
So that's probably what he's doing.
All right. Well, I guess he's going to land on his feet.
Yeah, I think he's all right.
And then finally, getting back to TI. Yeah, we've been hearing a lot of great things about TI. Right. And in fact, talking about blackjack, we have heard that they do have $5 blackjack 3-2.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all the time, but we keep hearing great things about low roller opportunities at TI for blackjack and craps and everything. So
I think
we need to get back
where
there.
Treasure Island is positioned, or TI, they call it now. It's in a weird kind of spot.
I guess so, only because if you're on that side of the street and say you're at Mirage,
right?
You're either going to TI or you're going to the mall, Fashion Show Mall, right? And a lot of people aren't doing that, so it's not really on the way somewhere. Yeah,
right? And it's kind of in a weird spot. So I would imagine they have to get people in there by having a little better situation.
That's great if that's what they're doing. Let's really try to make a point to go there.
We should.
Maybe
we haven't been there in years.
Maybe in October. We really have not.
Years ago, we used to go quite regularly.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from Chris.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Chris from Round Rock, Texas. I am actually originally from the New England area, and we were up visiting some family and went to Mohegan Sun this weekend. And one of the cool things about Mohegan Sun is they have a $50 free play for all new slot club members. And I've been to, many places have $10 or $20 or your first $20 in losses on us, but that's as good a free play as I've ever seen. It wasn't promoted. I didn't see it at the casino. I went to the website beforehand. Obviously, you have to be a new player. But yeah, everyone in my party did that and had a few bucks just to start off. And it was a Saturday night, 4th of July weekend. And so it was fairly busy, but I was surprised they still had, they had a $5 craps table. It was kind of busy. It's kind of hard to get on at first, but 5 times odds, $5 table. The deal was pretty friendly, and we did, okay overall. So it was a lot of fun, and I would recommend checking out Mohegan Sun. And if you do not have a Players Club card, go to that website. I Googled Slot Cup promotions, and that came up for $50 in free play. So hope you guys are doing well, and I would love to play craps with you soon. All right, bye.
Yeah, $50 free play. That's great for a promotional thing. Yeah. The only thing better that we ever experienced was at Borgata. We got $100 in free play for signing up, but you had to be Total Rewards Diamond or higher, right, to get that, and then they gave it to you.
Yeah,
but
I think there was some smaller amount for.
Yeah, maybe there was. But yeah, $50 Mohegan Sun. Yeah, we might have to.
That's pretty good. It sure beats the free lobster buffet that you have to wait 4 hours to get.
Oh, here at Valley View.
Yeah,
I still haven't gone to that because there was too long a line when.
I don't know if we talked about that, but what it is for new players you get a free lobster buffet. Mm-hmm. So they have this buffet,
and I've heard the buffet is excellent.
And yeah, we've heard great things about the buffet. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they give you a free buffet, but then they give you a time when you can go in.
Yeah, because it's packed. It's constantly packed. Right, you can't go in right away.
Right, so your time's 3 hours after you sign up.
Yeah, right.
So
they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. What are you going to do for 3 hours in a casino?
Yeah.
You're going to pay for your buffet.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to do. All right, next call.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike, this is Scott from the great state of North Carolina. I have a trip report for you for the Casino du Lac-Leamy in Gatineau, Quebec. I know I butchered that pronunciation pretty badly, but this particular casino is about 15 miles outside of downtown Ottawa on the Quebec side across the Ottawa River. So I was there a couple of weeks ago. It's my first experience with a French-Canadian casino, and just a few observations. One, the exchange rate. So it's definitely to the advantage for a U.S. player to play in Canada. My $300 I took out of the ATM was actually only $229, American. Once I, checked my statement after I got back from the casino. Played a few games there. One game we played with blackjack. I sat down and found a $10 table. No signage on the table indicated what their pay schedule was for blackjack. But, lo and behold, 3 hands in, I get my first blackjack, and I paid out at 65. So that was unfortunate. One interesting note of the blackjack table, the pit boss actually stopped me from putting down a $1 bet for the dealer, stating that, the minimum bets you could put down for the dealer were $5 because of the 65 blackjack odds. So this is the first time a pit boss has ever stopped me for betting on the dealer for any game.
You're not betting enough for us,
One thing interesting,
sir.
too, they didn't have a cocktail waitress placing orders and going back to the bar and getting drinks for people. They had a converted change cart going around with about 10 to 12 liquor bottles on top of the change cart, and she was actually making mixed drinks for people at the table. They were definitely not free. My 3 cans of Corona that I ordered for me and my buddies who were up there cost about $25 Canadian. Also, we played craps. So definitely enjoyed the craps. It was very similar in style, the table, to what we find in Vegas. They had fire bets, they had C&E bets, they had, they would take my hot bets. But also, one thing of interest, I've never seen this before, but actually we were sitting on the point of 8, and the girl who was shooting shot the dice about a foot away from the back of the table, and the dice just stopped on a hard 8. Everybody's going crazy at the table because she just made her point and made the hard way. But lo and behold, the dealer shouted out, "No roll." Dice didn't hit the back of the table. No roll. So I had never seen this without a warning before. So I told the dealers, I said, no warning, no anything. I've never seen it before. And their response was, "Welcome to Quebec." So that's my short trip report on my experience in my French-Canadian casino up in Quebec. Thanks, guys, for everything you do. Enjoy your podcast.
He got cut off there at the 3-minute mark.
Oh, I love that story, though.
Welcome to Quebec?
Welcome to Quebec.
That's how it's going to be. I was sad to hear about the 6-5 blackjack because I was hoping that was limited to America. Because didn't we hear one of our callers called and they were in London and asked, "Oh, what does blackjack pay?" And they were like, "Well, what do you mean? What does it pay? It pays 3-2. What else would it pay, right?" So that's sad to hear about that. And the tip.
You're not tipping enough, sir.
Maybe let's just say there's some Canadian law where no matter what bet is made, it has to be made in a way that it can be paid off exactly properly.
Yeah.
And so
let's go with that. Right. Just not that they're idiots.
That is funny. Oh man.
My brother was just in Niagara Falls for his work, and he travels, everywhere.
Yeah.
But he played in several Canadian casinos while he was there. He had a few extra days. So he went to the casino, and it was funny because I said, "How'd you do?" And he said, "Well, I lost overall, but that exchange rate was great." And he was kind of happy about it. He's like, "Oh, I would have lost a lot more had I been in Vegas or somewhere."
When I was in the casino, I was going through the money. I thought, gosh, I lost quite a bit. I got home. It turns out I won.
Really. He was so enamored by, that exchange rate's great. Imagine if you win.
Oh, wow. All right. Let's hear from our buddy Ed from New Jersey.
Gentlemen, it's your buddy Ed from New Jersey.
That's what I said.
I was wondering if you guys would consider doing a segment on false beliefs of casino players. For example, blackjack players that believe that their hand is going to be affected by whether or not another person at the table is playing proper basic strategy. And slot players who believe that the casino pushes some kind of button to change the percentage payouts to tighten and loosen machines, depending on if it's a weekend, a night, a holiday, that type of stuff. Also on the subject of slot players, there are those that believe that their player's card being inserted into the machine has some kind of effect on whether they hit jackpots or don't hit jackpots. It's up to you. I'm sure you could think of 100 other ones. I think it'd be something interesting. And just as a side note, I was wondering if you guys would consider doing maybe something in the spring of 2018, a Northeast gathering of all the podcast hosts. I was thinking maybe you guys, the Due for a Win guys, Cousin Vito, maybe Tipping the Odds, Coach Fav. There's a whole bunch of people doing podcasts now, and a lot of them are really great. Maybe you could even get Scott from Vital Vegas to come back to his Northeast roots and take a look at how far Atlantic City has come. I don't know if you guys have ever even gotten over to the Borgata. It's a great place. All right. Hopefully this works out. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, maybe a Northeast trip sometime next year.
That's a great idea, actually. I'd love for a bunch of podcasters to get together in Atlantic City.
It would be great. But although I would definitely want to go to the Connecticut casinos.
Yes.
And it's funny that Ed mentions this because we actually have been talking about next year, that kind of being our trip is to go up to the Northeast. So
to get to Foxwoods.
We're definitely thinking about it. Now, as far as organizing it, I'm not interested in that. Only because
and everyone who knows us knows that we're not going to put in a lot of effort into that.
But if it sort of organically happens, where everybody, and it's nice because like Vito and the Due for a Win guys, they're anyway, they're at least close.
Right.
So, we'd definitely be up for that.
I'll tell you,
start looking
Ed,
at the calendar.
I'll tell you, Ed, getting back to like false beliefs.
Yeah.
How many times, and I'm not going to mention names, have I told a certain person that casinos don't have to cheat?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was like, oh, they did this, they did that, they pushed a button, they did this. They don't have to cheat.
Yep.
The odds are in their favor. I mean, just with time, they're going to win, right? I mean, there's no reason to cheat.
That's right.
And why would you risk losing your license or having a scandal when you're going to win anyway?
Yeah. Well, I love this idea for a topic. In fact, let's just put the word out there. If any of you out there think of a kind of a fun false belief, whether it's superstition or a belief that somehow the casino is doing something, to make you lose, let us know and we'll talk about it next time. Yeah, we have some.
We have quite a few. I'll tell you what, we could get 100. I bet you we should get 100 most common false beliefs.
Let's start doing that. And folks, tweet us or send us email email or call us, whatever you want to do, and we'll start making a list.
Yeah, we'll make
Yeah.
a list, and
Yeah.
we'll try and organize them into the
Yeah,
most
let's see if we
common,
can get that for the
common
next
one
episode.
versus the least common one.
Yeah.
But, I swear to God, there's a button on that craps table.
Sure. Well, it's magnets. They've got magnets in the dice and then magnets on the table. That's that's a true one.
If they don't hit the back wall, of course, hard ways are going to come up like crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why they make you hit that back wall.
If they don't hit the back wall, the magnet can't do its work.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. All right. And actually, this is a good segue for our next call. Let's hear from Ryan.
Hey guys, Ryan from Southern California. I just had a question for you. I recently took a friend. We were playing in Vegas, and it was his first time shooting craps, and he told the dealer that it was his first time, and of course the dealer announced it to the table, so everyone bet all big because it was his first time rolling, and there were some pretty good-sized bets out there, and he sevened out pretty quick, and he felt so bad, and I tried to explain to him, I'm like, dude, you can't feel bad about losing these people's money. I mean, they're the ones betting. You can't control the dice, whatever. I was just wondering, do you guys usually bet bigger, or what do you do when you hear that it's a brand new roller? Because a lot of people I know like to do that. Another thing, I was playing craps at San Manuel Casino here in San Bernardino, and of course the craps is with the cards because we're in California. I was playing a $15 minimum table, and they don't have any dice there at all, so it's all just, they pulled the cards out of the automatic shuffler, and whatever's on the two cards, that's what represents the dice. And 4 times in a row, the come-out roll came out 6, and the first one right after that, they pulled the cards, and it was 4 and a 3, 7 out, all 4 times. So everyone started playing the don't pass, and then the next 2 times, they hit their point. I mean, I know these things are random, but it just seems like they're duping you somehow. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the card craps. I know you guys like to play it at Harrah's, but I don't know, maybe when you get to roll the dice and it determines what card they flip, then it feels a little bit better. But when they just pull it out of the shuffler and it's there, it just seems like, man, they're just screwing whoever's making the bets. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, just to be clear, it's not that we like playing the card craps.
Right, we don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice, and we've gotten used to it.
Right.
To the point where we don't mind it.
Right.
Now, we have talked about how different casinos in California use cards to deal their craps games.
Right.
And like this example at San Manuel, it's they just have these shuffled cards that come out, right?
Right.
Now,
that's my least favorite.
Right. And I know you don't like it, and I don't like it either.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything funny is going on there. It's like
No.
you said before, the
Right.
casino doesn't need to cheat.
Right.
And really, to coordinate something where you're trying to make players lose, to coordinate that between the guy who's dealing and the shuffle master and the pit and everything, it's just, that's not the case.
Right, that's not the case. It's just an unfortunate series of events that
right.
happens when you're gambling.
That happens when you're gambling. Even at a real dice table in Las Vegas, it's going to
or a
happen.
real roulette table where red comes up 12 times in a row, and you think to yourself, oh, I got to bet black. Black's
right.
coming.
Gambler's
and then
fallacy.
Sure enough, red. Again,
Yeah, and we have a friend of yours, a coworker, won't say
Right.
his name,
Right.
but he is convinced that, the roulette wheel, they've got something where they push a button,
right,
and
and it's
that's
all
what happens.
rigged.
Because how could black come up 6 times in a row? It just couldn't.
It
right?
just can't happen, right? It just can't happen.
Yeah. So
But years ago, I know you think about this just like I do, but remember when Paul's Uncle Ike was dealt 3 6s?
Yep.
And he just looked at all. What are the chances of that? 3 6s.
It was a 3-card game,
Is it
and all 3 of his cards were 6s. It's
How
like
can that happen?
It can't happen.
It just can't happen.
Yeah.
We all just looked at him. What the?
Well, yeah, it's unusual and good for you, and
but it happens.
So, having said, again, I don't think there's anything going wrong. I think the odds are exactly the same at all these craps tables. Having said that, it is not as fun,
right,
as at Harrah's, Southern California, where we're rolling dice that will determine which cards get turned over. That is more
I
fun.
actually like that because it's like you said, it's funner.
It's funner,
and that's for all the people who hate the word funner.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, it is more fun because you feel like in your mind, like you've done something.
Like you've got some control
You've got
over it,
some
sure.
control,
Right.
even though you don't. You
Right.
feel
Yeah.
like you do.
Yeah.
I don't like when there's no dice at all.
Mhm.
And I don't like at Palo where you roll.
Oh, where the dice are
It's
sort of meaningless. And
I mean, they're even more meaningless than they are in the game at Harrah's.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? I mean, we go to Vegas and we play with real dice and we sometimes win and sometimes
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah.
And same thing out here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Now, What do you do when there's a brand new shooter, a virgin shooter?
Well, whenever there's a brand new shooter, obviously they're going to roll the hell out of the dice.
Okay,
That just happens. So you have to increase your bets like crazy.
You do. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's everybody knoes that.
Yeah,
Now, that's one of those things people think is not true, but it's really, really true.
Yeah. All right, that's Mike's answer. I don't change my bet at all because it doesn't matter.
I don't change my bet at all. But you know what? Seriously, it is fun to think stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fun to pretend to be superstitious.
It's very fun to pretend to be like calling your bets off when the dice.
We've
go
said
off the
it's
table.
fun to pretend to be
It's fun to
superstitious.
pretend.
That's the T-shirt we need. To
Yeah. You know, it's funny because neither one of us are really that superstitious, but we love doing it. And when you're right, you feel great, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like getting tipped.
You know, when I call my bets off, I'm right 1 every 6 times.
Right.
1 out of every 6 times, I'm right.
Yeah.
6 ace in your face.
You should just do that. And I'll just
Every time.
Wait and do it. Wait and do it when there's somebody we don't know on the table. And I'll just like lower my head and just kind of walk away. Leave, $3,000 in the rail. Just walk away. I'm such a loser.
Oh, man. That's happening this weekend. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank a couple people for a PayPal donation. Rosina and Vijay, we actually met them at VIMP last year. They said, headed back to Vegas together for the first time since October when we met Mark at the Luxor Craps meetup. VJ rolled the all tall, all small on the second table, and we hope to hit it again. Yeah, that was quite an event. Both tables to hit the all small, tall. Yeah.
I mean, within minutes of each other.
That was amazing.
Very soon.
So thank you very much for that. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program to search through all the raw American TV data. Just go to youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonThat. We tweet when we're heading to a casino and we'd love to meet up with you. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. All right, Dr. Mike.
Well, I was just thinking, the best thing about our world that we live in is the craziness of it and the diversity. Imagine what it would be like if we were all the same.
Oh, yeah, sure.
If nobody was superstitious, everyone, knew statistically what was going to happen and made their wagers accordingly and did this and did that. What makes it fun is that we're not.
Yeah.
That we're all different, and then everyone has some weird quirk or person.
That's
and
right.
some of them drive me crazy.
Sure.
And some of them I get a real big kick out of, right? So cherish those that
That's
are,
true. Otherwise,
that are different.
Otherwise, we'd just be the Borg.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
We'd be the Borg. The whole world would just be the Borg.
Yeah.
And instead, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it get and people get pissed off about it, and other people get happy about it. But it's great that we're all different.
Yeah. Now, do you have a PhD in philosophy? Is that your doctorate?
That's my doctorate. Yeah, philosophy. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to come up with that.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I do think people forget that.
Sure.
They forget that.
Well, yeah,
What
'cause
makes
you
the
get
world
so-
great is that we're all different.
Yeah.
You can see it on a craps table. I mean, one guy, you'll pick the dice up and fire him.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Every
guy
time.
will play with them forever. Does it matter? No. Is it annoying sometimes? Yes. But it is fun that we're different, right?
It makes the world go round.
It makes the world go round.
Yep. All right.
And that's what we're here to do. We're make the dice go round
to
and
make
land
the
on
dice
hard
go
eight.
around and spin as much about, the hard 8. Hard 8 or hard 6, Mike?
Well, seriously, I love the hard 6. It's hit for me more, but I like seeing a hard 8.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that.
Who doesn't, Dr.
Yeah,
Mike?
I love that.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.